Hello sports fans, welcome to another episode of Shawno Bikes. In this episode we're doing a lower service on my Rockshox Yaris. Come on in. Okay, so as you can see we've got a brew on the go. The bike's in the stand. We've got an oil bucket. We're ready to go. Let's take these wheels out. We're away. We are away. Okay, so for the next step, what we're going to be doing is using a 5mm hex to remove the brake caliper. As you can see, I've put a bungee cord around it and it's tied up nice and out of the way. So now we're going to be taking out the air on this side of the shock. Okay, so to do this, I'm simply going to use an Allen key. Just push on the valve. Fork will jump a bit. And that's it, 90 psi. Obviously before you do this, take note of your settings on the fork and the settings, wherever it is, on the rebound. Okay, so just having a look at this rebound knob, there's no grub screw to hold it in. So what you've got to do is turn it anti-clockwise to the fastest setting and then simply pull the bolt off. Now what we're going to do is with a 5mm hex is undo the bolts there and there, but only 4 turns. We're not going to take them all the way out. With this one I'm using a 5mm hex key here. So you'll see why I'm only doing them 4 turns in the next part. Okay, so with a hammer we're going to strike for the hex key, which is going to push the stanchion up, which is why we only unwound it 4 turns, so we can have that movement. Goes. That's one. Get the oil can. Put the bike down. Now that the oil's drained, pull this leg down to remove it. And we're just going to keep continuing. Oh. Doing it until it comes. Obviously that came off with quite some. Just inspecting them. Looks like quite dirty in there. Smells nice. Okay, so now the fork lowers are removed. What we're going to do, pick them up, is remove the seals and the wiper seal in there. You can see the bushing. Just give them an inspect in each one. As you can see, the bushings look fine. There isn't too much dirt around there, to be honest. But we'll make sure we clean everything as we go. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is remove this wiper seal. It's there. Okay, so for this step, I'm taking a pick. Now I'm simply going to work my way around the seal, just gently prying it in certain spots. With my flat blade, I'm gently just going to pry until it pops out. They do take a little bit of perseverance, so I've just worked around it with a pick just to free things up. It's a little right angle pick, and then that's able to break the seal when I go in with the screwdriver there. But did you notice I did use a cloth? That's to stop damage to the internals of the fork and also to the externals. So the next step is cleaning the inside of the fork lowers. So we're going to grab a pole and a lint-free cloth, and then I'll do it on this side. Just push it down like so. Make sure you get them right to the bottom. You can see we're right in there in the bottom, clearing out any excess dirt or oil. So that's it. The forks are now cleaned and ready to be reassembled. We're just waiting for seals to come from TF Tuned. Okay, so it's now Friday and the TF Tuned service kit has finally arrived. So using the suspension oil that's provided in the TF Tuned kit, I've soaked in the wiper seals before applying them. So once the wipers have had a good soak, what we're going to do is remove them. These left them in there for about 10 minutes. Put them in some kitchen towel just to take off any excess oil. I'm simply just going to install it like so. So it's nicely seated there. So the next step is fitting a dust seal. Make sure it's nice and square. It will take some working. So the next step, using the slick kit grease that comes in the TF Tuned kit, we're going to put a dab on a finger and smear it around the inside of the seal. Do both sides. Okay, so now that I've basically greased and put new seals into the fork, it's now time to return the lowers onto the stanchions. Just make sure everything lines up properly. Okay, we're at the seals. Okay, so I'm filming this for my own purpose as well. I'm just checking around the seal, making sure it hasn't folded over on itself. Do the same for both sides. So once you're happy that seals are seated nicely, push the fork all the way home, then bring the fork back up slightly. So for the next step, ensure that there is a gap between the bottom of the stanchion and the lower leg. We'll need this because we're going to put 10 ml of fluid in each side, but each fork will differ, so check on the Rockshox website how much oil your forks require. So I'm using the 11.8 CST oil that's supplied in the TF Tuned kit. As you can see, I've got 10 ml in the syringe. I'm going to put the 10 ml of fluid in, and I'll repeat this for the other side. So for the next step, I'm going to push the lowers down so they've just touched onto the stanchions. We're going to be replacing the crush washers on both bottom bolts. Now the squash washers have been replaced, locate the bolts and hand tighten so that they come into contact. The next step, grab a 5 ml Allen key and tighten till it's snug. Now both bottom bolts are snug, we're going to get the rebound adjuster and just push home like so. So the brake caliper and the wheels are all now fitted and basically centred. What we're going to do is pressurise the fork now. So what I've done is inflated it to 20 psi. So we're going to cycle these a few times now. That's to remove any negative air that's in the air chamber. After this we'll repeat it at 50 psi and so on until we hit our desired pressure. My forks are now inflated to my setup. The last thing to do is fit the top cap and readjust the rebound. So that's the service done. Let's go give it a test ride.